a 2023 case where they got stuck, and they were way past the 30 days. So they had filed, served, and I want to say this was back in October of 2023, and we're now in January. So a couple of months have gone by since they've been served, and they hired me. This is one of the Pomona cases, already finalized, did their judgment. They signed it, notarized it, e-filed it. And that's the only one that's left outstanding for approval. And the question they had was, the 30 days have already passed. Is it too late to turn in a settlement agreement? And the answer is no. Even if the requesting default has been filed, it's never too late to do a default with written agreement. I've told you many times, there's 3 types of divorce cases. There is uncontested, where a response is filed and you're still submitting a settlement agreement. There's default with agreement, where there's no response filed, but you're turning in a settlement agreement. And there's default with no agreement, no response filed, and there's no agreement. And in all the cases where people have problems, every time it's because they're trying to do a default without an agreement because they think it's simpler to get those through. They don't want to involve their spouse. They don't want to bother them. They think it'll be simple, and it's not. All I have to do is take over and tell them, hey, will your spouse sign off? Yes, they will. They don't need to respond. They don't need to pay the court fee, and we can get those through the court, no problem. And we've took care of all of these this week. So this had been a default case that had already been, the default had already been, one had already been entered, one had not. But it doesn't matter. Even if you've already filed the request for default, you can still turn in a written agreement on a default with written agreement case. When I do your judgment from scratch, or if you haven't turned in the request for default, I turn that in with the default settlement agreement. So the court knows, okay, so it's a default, but it's a default with agreement type case. And they'll know that because of the type of paperwork that you turn in.